Hi everyone, Anthony Morganti here. This is a bit unusual for me. I'm not used to being on this side of the camera because, quite frankly, I have a face better suited for radio. But I am in this video because I'm announcing a new course. Many of you probably know that a little over a year ago, I released my first course ever. It was on Lightroom Classic, and it proved to be tremendously successful. Well, since I've launched that course, I've received several emails from people asking me if I was going to do a video on that other version of Lightroom, often called Lightroom CC, or the cloud version of Lightroom. Quite frankly, I wasn't really interested in doing a course on that version of Lightroom because I didn't think a lot of people used it. Well, I've been getting more and more emails from people, and I've found out that at least half the people that use Lightroom are using the cloud version of Lightroom. So I've decided to create an entire course on it. It's called Lightroom the Easy Way. Now, I know you didn't tune into this video to watch a commercial. So all I'm going to say is in the description below this video, I have links to my course. I ask you to check it out because I truly believe it's the best course I ever created. For now, though, I'm going to show you how to edit an image from beginning to end. We're going to import images off this memory card. We're going to cull them, and then we're going to edit them. If you're familiar with Lightroom Classic, you know that to get your images from your memory card into Lightroom Classic, you'll need to go through a formal import process. With this version of Lightroom, you don't need to do that. With this version of Lightroom, you could just copy your images from your memory card to any location on your computer, and then from within Lightroom, navigate to where they are and start working on them. For example, you could see that I have plugged into my computer a memory card from my Nikon Z8. On this memory card are a number of images I took of Niagara Falls. I'd like to work on these images in Lightroom, so all I need to do is copy them to a location on my computer. I have all of the images for this course on this external hard drive that I called Pictures. You can see that they're in a folder called Lightroom Course. If you purchase the course, you'll get all of these images. Now, I'm going to create a folder on this hard drive, and I'm going to call it Niagara Falls. And of course, you'll be getting these images as well. I'm going to open up this folder, and then I'm going to go over to the memory card, and I'm just going to select all of the Nikon RAW files over here and just copy them by dragging them onto or into that folder onto that hard drive. Now, one caveat, when you download all of the images for the course, they are going to be RAW files, but they're going to be DNG files. The DNG files are just smaller files than the Nikon RAW files, Sony RAW files, and Fuji RAW files that you'll get in the course. So your download will go a lot faster. I just had to do that because there's just so many files. Your download would probably take forever and time out for some of you. So I wanted to make it as efficient as possible. So I have all of the Nikon RAW files in this Niagara Falls folder. I'm just going to put that folder inside of the Lightroom course folder so they're there with everything else. Then I'll close these windows down and I'll open up Lightroom. And as I mentioned, once Lightroom opens, we'll just navigate to that folder and we'll start culling those images. And there's a number of different ways to cull. I'm just going to show you one of the ways. Now, you'll notice we're in Lightroom. I'm in the local folder in the Browse subtab, browse to the folder. And you can see that the Pictures hard drive is there, the Lightroom course folder is there, and within that Lightroom course folder is the folder I just created called Niagara Falls, containing all those images. Now, there's a number of different ways to cull, as I mentioned. The way I like to do it is I like to use flags, favorite flags, reject flags, or no flag at all. If I like this image and I wanted to give it a favorite flag or a pick flag, I could do it a number of different ways. I could go down here and just click the little checkmark flag there, or go right on the image, click the checkmark flag there. But the easiest way is to use a keyboard shortcut. The keyboard shortcut to favorite an image is the Z key or Z key if you prefer. Tap that key and you gave it a pick flag. You can see that the pick flag is now active down here and over here. If you want to unpick something, remove the flag totally, tap the U key. You can see I just unpicked it. Now, if I want to ultimately delete something, I want to reject it, give it a reject flag. That's the X key. So you need to know three keys, Z or Z, X, and U. That's all you need to know. Now, you'll notice as I was tapping these keys, these various keys, staying on the image. It would be a lot faster if you could tap a key to give it a flag and then advance to the next image automatically. To do that in Lightroom, just turn on Caps Lock. With Caps Lock on, you'll have Auto Advance on. Now, if I say I'm unsure of this image, unsure is a U key for me, so I'll just tap the U key. Go to the next image. Unsure, U key. Unsure, U key. Unsure, U key. I kind of like this image. I'll give it a pick flag by tapping the Z key. Too much sky maybe. I don't know. A little crooked. I'll give it a U key. U key. So I'm unsure. I'm not necessarily going to delete these images, but I'm not going to work on them right away. U key. Kind of like this one, although that branch is bothering me in the middle, but I'll give it a pick flag, a Z key. U key. U key. U key. U key. U. Maybe too much sky. U. This one's much better. I'll give this a pick flag by typing the Z key. Unsure of that one, U key. This one's a little crooked. Let's say I wanted to delete this. I could give it the reject flag by tapping the X key. Now it's rejected. You can see it has a reject flag on the image and right here. When you have all your rejection images down here, you can just right click on them and then go to delete one photo. When you do that, it will put it in the trash can. Now, in this one, I'm not going to delete it now because as I mentioned, you're going to get all these images with the course. Now I'm done culling the images, so turn off Caps Lock. And I could now pick one of the pick flagged images and edit it. Now, in this video, I'm actually not going to edit one of these photos because they kind of stink. I want to edit something that's a little better and something that I could show you more of how I edit. Like here's going to be relatively simple. There's not a lot to do with the sky. There's not really a lot of color in the image. So there's not a lot of editing to do here. So you could learn more in this video. I'm actually going to go to the cloud section of Lightroom, and here I have this image. And with this image, I'll do an edit. Now, before I start editing, I like to maximize my workspace by closing down the left panel by clicking right there and closing down the film strip by clicking right there. Now, I have a specific workflow that I follow, and I cover it all ad nauseam in the course, but I suggest that you develop your own workflow because that will help give you consistent results. If you do something the same way, you'll get consistent results all the time. Now, for me, what I do first, if needed, is reduce noise. This specific image was shot with ISO 64, so I don't need to reduce noise. There's really no noise. The next thing I'll do, if needed, is crop the image. And I like it the way it's framed. I'm not going to crop it. The next thing I'll do, if I want to, is change the profile. By default, this is using the camera standard profile. I kind of like that, so I'm not going to change it. The next thing I'll do, if needed, is go to the color section and adjust white balance. There's a number of different ways to do that. I covered them all in the course. For this specific image, I don't really need to do that either, so I'm going to not do that. Now, the next thing I'll do, and it's always needed, is adjust the tone of the image. All those controls are in the light section. And what I do is I look at it, and what's the first thing that jumps out to me? Well, the shadows are pretty dark. So I'll just go right to shadows now and open up shadows. And I'll probably open up all the way. And then I'll rein in highlights. What I like to do, especially with highlights, is I look at a brightest part of the image, like in here, by zooming in and clicking on the image, and then moving the slider to the left. If I could grab it, there we go. There we go, move it to the left until I see some kind of detail pop in. And right about there, I could see some detail pop in here. And that looks pretty good. Then I'll get a white and black point. Number of different ways to do that. Again, I cover them all in the course. The way I like to do it is I like to hold the Option key on my Mac. It's Alt key on a PC. When I do and I start to move the white slider, I'll get a black screen. I'll keep moving the white slider to the right until I see some color come through. That means I'm starting to clip those color channels. You can see there's blue there and green there. Where white is, that means I'm clipping all three color channels, red, green, and blue. That means I'm blowing out the highlights. You can see right there. I never like to blow out the highlights because if I were to print that, no ink would get put down there at all. There'd be no detail there. So I'll adjust this till I see some color start to come through, then back it off until all that color dissipates, which is right about there. For me, that's a perfect white point. Same thing for black. So hold in that Alt Option key, click on the black slider. This time when I start to move it to the left, I'll get a white screen. I'll keep moving it till I see some color come through. Again, I'm clipping those color channels, but I'm actually crushing the channels. And if you're crushing the color channel there, that means there's absolute black there. If you print it, no detail will be there, just absolute black. Now, personally, for my landscape images, I don't mind clipping the shadows a little bit. I like to have my images, I like my images to have absolute black in them. I feel that gives my image a lot of tonal range. I have absolute black to almost absolute white, but not quite. So I'll adjust this until I do see some color come through, and I leave it at that. Now, after I'm done with tone, these are the sliders in the light section, the next thing I'll do is color. And I could go down to this color tab and start doing things here, or sometimes I'll do it in masking first, but I think I'll start with the color section. I want to do something with the grass. So I'm going to open up the color mixer, and what I like to do with grass is I like to add a lot of some tonal variance to it, because a lot of times the grass is like uniform green. This is a little better. We have some more yellow components of the grass, or lighter greens, darker greens. But what I'll do is I'll go to this yellow circle here, and I'll go to luminance, and I'll make the yellow component of the grass brighter. Then I'll go to the green circle, and I'll make the green component of the grass darker. So you can see how that gives my, at least this area down here, gives it more tonal variance. I have some bright yellows or brighter greens and darker greens, and I think that works out well. A lot of times I'll do too is I'll go to blue, and I'll make the blues darker by pulling the luminance slider to the left to darken the sky, but I'm going to do that in masking instead. So I'm done with the color mixer. As a matter of fact, I'm done with the color section altogether. You notice I didn't move vibrance or saturation. I often don't because it's pretty colorful. I don't have to do much there. But I am going to go to masking, click on this icon right here. I want to do stuff with the sky, so I'm going to click on the sky button. Lightroom will use AI to find the sky, and it will put a red overlay on it, and it looks pretty good. It found the sky fine. I mentioned that I like to darken the blues often. Well, I could do that in effects by moving the dehaze slider to the right. You can see how that darkens that blue sky. And it's only affecting the sky, nothing else, because we're masking for the sky. Then I'm going to add some clarity, and I'm going to add some texture, really add some drama to that sky. So that looks pretty good. Now, I want to add another mask. I want to add some texture and maybe some sharpness to the sculpture. To do that, we're going to create new mask, and we're going to create a subject mask. Again, Lightroom will use AI to find the subject. You can see it found the sculpture. It's missing part of the sculpture's foot, and it didn't get the base or pedestal. So I could add to this by clicking the Add button, and I'm going to add with a brush. And then we have brush settings over here. I'll take feathering down a little bit. I could use the brush size with this slider. I like to use just my mouse. Just slide your finger on your magic mouse on a Mac computer, the center wheel on a Windows computer, and you could resize it. You could also use the bracket keys. Left bracket key makes it smaller, right bracket key larger. Now this isn't an AI brush. This is a dumb brush. So wherever I brush, it's going to put a mask there. So I got to be careful. You can see how I screwed up. I went up in the grass a little bit, but I could fix that. So I get most of the pedestal mark there. I kind of screwed up right here. Just hold in the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and it will jump to a minus brush. Then I could erase the mask from where I made my mistake. So that looks pretty good. I've modified the mask the way I want it. I mentioned I wanted to add texture to the sculpture, so I'll move this to the right, and you can see how it's only affecting the sculpture. You can see what clarity does. Clarity is kind of cool, but it made it maybe a little dark. So I'll go up to light, and I'll open up the shadows a little bit on the sculpture. And then I am going to go to detail, and I'm going to add some sharpness to the sculpture. And there, I'm done with that. I'm done with masking. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty much done with the image. I'm going to go back to the edit panel, and I'm going to go to effects. And what I often like to do is add a vignette, a dark vignette to the image. So I move this to the left, like that. And just like that, I guess. And I could change some settings for the vignette by rolling open this little, they call that an expose triangle, and it gives you more sliders you could work with the vignette. But as I look at it now, I don't like the sculpture, what I did there. So I'm going to go back to masking. I'm going to go back to that mask. It's mask 2. I could just double click on the word mask 2, or the words mask 2, and I could call it sculpture. So I know that's the sculpture, and then this one here is the sky. Like that. But I just didn't like what I did there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to light, and I'm going to take the shadows back down. little bit. Instead, I'll bring the highlights down a little bit. I think that looks a little better. And that's it. I'm done with my edit. Now I want to share it with the world. So I need to export it from Lightroom. To do that, there's a little share icon right here. It's a little box with an upward arrow. Click on that. It has some export presets. If I just want to export a small JPEG, that will give me a resolution of 2048 pixels with a 90% quality. I could click that. If I want a large one, that's a full-size JPEG with 100% quality. Or do I want to just send out the original RAW file? It was an icon RAW file, so it would be, well, in this case, it's a DNG file. So it would go as a DNG file with the settings or the edits in it. Or do I want to use previous settings, what I used last time? Instead, let's just show you custom settings. So I'll go to custom settings, and you'll get the export dialog here. And from here, I could choose the image file type. It could be JPEG, TIFF, JXL, AVIF, DNG, or the original file plus the settings. I'm going to stay with JPEG. Let's say I want to export this for use on my website or my newsletter. I do use 2000 pixels on the long side for that. I could do a short size setting if I want to, but I use 2000 there. I could just type in the number. If you don't like using pixels, you could use inches and or centimeters as well. I'm going to send it out at 100% quality. It will be a larger JPEG if you do that. You'll get a smaller JPEG if you choose one of the lesser percentages, but the quality will suffer. If I zoom in, let me hold in the command key on my Mac, control key on a PZ, and I could zoom in like this and drag around. You'll notice if I change the quality to 10%, and once it renders, you could see that the quality is pretty bad. If I even go to 60%, you'll notice that there's a lot of JPEG artifacts in there. But if I go to even, let's say 80%, it'll improve, but there'll still be some artifacts in there. And if I go to 100, you can see that it's pretty much normal. So that's good. You could include a watermark if you like, and I cover how to do this in the course, how you can move it to different areas or use a graphics watermark or whatever, but I'm not going to do that. I almost never include all the metadata because that would include, because in my RAW files, I have my address and my phone number and stuff like that, and I don't want that included, but I'll include my copyright info. Now, to give it a name, you could use the original file name with .jpeg at the end, or the capture date with the file name and .jpeg at the end, or a custom name. Let's give it a custom name. I'm going to call this sculpture. Oops. And the start number will be 0 because it's all by itself. If I had more than one image selected in the film strip, I'll export more than one image at a time, and it will give it -1, -2, -3 with each export. I'm not going to do any output sharpening. I'm going to use the sRGB color space, and I'm not going to use content credentials. And we're going to click export one photo, and we're going to export it to the desktop, and we're going to just click export here. And you can see there's progress bar top left-hand corner. It's done already. You can see there is my image right here. It's called Sculpture. And if I open it up, there's my edited image. And that, in a nutshell, is how to edit, well, how to get images into Lightroom, how to cull them, how to edit them. Now, again, in the course, I go through everything in Lightroom in tremendous detail. In the description below this video, I'll have a link to it. I ask you to check it out. I believe it's the best course I've ever created.